What's going on, everyone? So, the Toronto Raptors and Pascal Siakam were unable to come to a contract extension. Raptors are taking a wait-and-see approach on long-term contract for Siakam. Now, obviously, the Toronto Raptors missed out on Damian Lillard. There was tons of reports that they were the front runners for Damian Lillard, and then Damian Lillard ultimately went to the Milwaukee Bucks. And if they had gotten Dame, whether it was, let's say they traded OG, Gary Trent, and a first or whatever, right? Well, now you have Damian Lillard, Pascal Siakam, and Scottie Barnes, plus Jakob Poeltl, guys like that. You're kind of in the position of, okay, it's time to push, and let's go try to win a championship, if not necessarily this year, within the time frame of Damian Lillard and Pascal Siakam, right? That would have been the goal. That would have been the idea. Well, now Toronto failed to get Damian Lillard, and now Toronto is in a position to where I think it's in their best interest to just move on, right? Pascal Siakam has already been in trade talks. I mean, even dating back to last season. If you're unable to get an extension for Pascal Siakam, you have a young talent in OG Anunoby, who is one of the better two-way guys in the entire league and is young enough to continue to improve and grow and be better. You have a Scottie Barnes who has star potential, right? If I'm Toronto, I'm looking to just kind of hit that reset button. It's not like Toronto's been very good the last few years. I mean, since they went and made the big trade to get Kawhi Leonard, yes, they won an NBA championship. That was absolutely worth it, right? You would do that every day, including Sunday if you could, if it led to an NBA championship. Well, that time has passed. That time is gone. And Usai Ujiri has kind of lived on that. And that reputation has kind of allowed him to be looked and perceived as like this brilliant GM and stuff. What has he done since then? Right? Like, I like that he didn't overpay for Fred VanVleet. I have no issues with him kind of seeing the landscape and kind of seeing like, what should we do? But at some point you have to pick a direction and stick with it, right? Toronto's kind of was trying to build this like positionless basketball lineup and stuff, and it just hasn't worked. They haven't been very good, and I don't see them magically turning it around this year and going from being, a play-in team to all of a sudden being a title contender. Right, when your big acquisition was going and getting Dennis Schroeder, who's fine, who's great, right? But I think it's time to move off of Pascal Siakam, right? Wait till the trade deadline when teams are desperate and, there's that team that feels like, okay, Siakam is that missing piece. Go get a nice, young rebuilding package and start fresh. Pascal Siakam is a 24, 8, and 6 guy. 29 years old, so he's still extremely young. Many teams would sell quite a bit to go and acquire him. And I just think at this point, like, what direction is Toronto going? What is the idea? What's the game plan? Right? Like, you don't have a very good team, but you have some nice young players and talent. You just drafted Grady Dick. You got Scottie Barnes. Gary Trent Jr. still extremely young. OG Anunoby. Start that. There's your core. There's your starting, point guard or whatever in Grady Dick, right? He's a guy that can absolutely fill that role for now. If you want to go get somebody else, you can kind of use him as like that point forward, right? I get he's 6'8". He usually plays small forward, power forward, or small forward shooting guard. But, you have him. He can operate and kind of be that maybe bigger point forward, kind of your Pascal Siakam style player. Got Scottie Barnes, got OG Anunoby out on the wings, got Gary Trent Jr. as your shooting guard, or maybe you put him at the point guard, right? Maybe you go Gary Trent at the point guard, put Dick at the 2, have OG at the 3, Scottie at the 4, and then Jakob Poeltl at the 5. There you go. I would personally trade Jakob Poeltl. I would look to move him too, right? Have Dennis Schroeder come off the bench, or if you want to bring Grady off the bench, right? You could go Dennis Schroeder, Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Scottie Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl post a Siakam trade and just kind of build around your current foundation, right? Again, Gary Trent Jr., like 2 years ago, was like third in 30-point games or whatever. Like this guy is a guy that could absolutely get a bucket. Like I said, OG Anunoby is a guy that is one of the better two-way guys in the league. And he's what, 25 years old? 26, I think. I think he just turned 26. You know, he's got good size at like 6'7". He has like a 7'2" wingspan. He's already given you like 17 points per game, right? You have a guy in Gary Trent who is still extremely young and young enough to have been drafted in like last year's draft, right? He just turned 24 and he's another 17 point a game guy who can be a legit two-way player. And then obviously Scottie Barnes, he's your kind of franchise guy that you have going for. You have a nice foundation and core. It's time to continue to build and grow on that. Take your young talent, right? Because could, Donovan Mitchell become available next year, which is very likely to happen. And what? You're going to go push your chips to go get him, and it's like, you're probably still not winning anything. It's at what point do you just say, okay, it's time for us to go a different direction here. It's time for us to do something different here. It's time, like, what we are doing right now clearly isn't working. We gotta make some steps in a rebuild and actually pick that side. I get the reluctancy to unload an OG Anunoby. I don't understand the reluctancy to unload a Pascal Siakam. You have Scottie Barnes. That's your guy. That's the guy. He's the one, right? He's your star now and for the future, right? You have some great talent. Be done. Move off of it. Quit being stubborn, right? Like, you're not going to, like, Pascal Siakam has already been in trade talks. He's not signing an extension. Why would he, how long is he going to want to stay on a team that just is competing for a play-in spot year in and year out? And nothing is being done. No moves are being changed. You have assets. You have picks. You have all this stuff. And you're doing nothing with it. You're just sitting on your hands. Right? At some point, Pascal Siakam's going to say, okay, like, enough is enough. And on top of that, you being the Raptors and being in Toronto, you're not this huge destination, right? I mean, Toronto's great, but most players don't want to go through all the hoops that you have to go through to play for Toronto, right? So you're not going to get all these stars lining up to go to the Raptors. So your best course of action is either through the draft or via trade. Use Pascal Siakam to go get that trade partner. Go get some young talent. Maybe you could even find somebody that's disgruntled, that makes sense, that's young, right? I don't know. But I think at some point, you got to change what you're doing. Because what they're doing is clearly not working. Pascal Siakam, if you don't trade him, is just going to end up leaving you, and then you're not going to get anything for him. And it's like, for what? For what? Like, Uzziah Ujiri, I get it. He's supposed to be this savant. He's this great GM. But what has he done? Again, he took a gamble on Kawhi Leonard, and it paid off. He absolutely deserves that. He helped Toronto win their one and only NBA championship. Right? He had the you-know-whats to go and make that happen. He deserves all the love, all the respect, all the credit for that. But that's all he's done. At some point, you have to keep going in different directions. There have been other GMs that have won several championships and then eventually get stagnant and stale and don't make the moves and don't do anything. I mean, Danny Ainge with the Boston Celtics. He was Mr. Celtics. I mean, Mitch Kupchak with the Lakers. I mean, you're talking two historic franchises where both of those guys were huge for those organizations. And they're on different teams now. You got Danny Ainge with Utah and Mitch Kupchak with the Hornets. Like, if you're a Toronto fan, yes, absolutely, you should be thankful for what Ujiri did, but it's like, all right, it's time to kick this into gear here a little bit. But anyway, as always, these are my thoughts and discussions. I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comments below. I love to hear it. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? How do you feel? Let me know down in the comments.